Thanks for that, Golly. So my name is Kevin Hill, again, Cloud Solutions Architect at NetApp. And today we're going to talk to you about how you can migrate your SQL applications, well, your application data to the cloud, and how you can leverage Cloud ONTAP for your SQL applications in AWS. As part of an agenda, we'll have a quick overview of the data fabric and the hybrid cloud. Definitely touch on NetApp's Cloud ONTAP and also Cloud Manager. But mostly we're going to try and focus on the SQL databases on top of Cloud ONTAP and leveraging a couple of our products, specifically SnapManager for SQL as well as SnapCenter. And we'll do most of that in the demonstration. So going ahead and getting started, data fabric and hybrid cloud. So some of you who've attended or attending may have seen this already, but for those of you who have not, this is kind of depicting a representation of the cloud perspective out in the industry. So typically divided into three different categories: private cloud, or maybe on-premises data center. They're slightly different. Also cloud service providers. These are effectively our partners who base their offerings off of NetApp technologies. And then you also have the hyperscaler cloud providers. That's Amazon Web Services, that's Microsoft Azure, IBM Software, Google Cloud Platform, whomever actually is out there offering those easy-to-consume services out in the cloud. But what happens is these are typically silos of data. It's very hard to go ahead and link them together. You're kind of stranded or locked in one shape or fashion. Well, our theory or our vision for the data fabric is to enable you to go ahead and link all these together seamlessly. Provide you the ease and the freedom movement of your data and having your data next to the cloud resources that make the best sense for you. And also try to avoid any sort of lock-in. Another way to look at this is because in a hybrid type of fashion. So hybrid cloud resources. I'm sure all of you have heard the phrase, I'm going all in on the public cloud. And it turns out that they're almost all in. Or maybe they went all into the public cloud and realized for either regulatory reasons or maybe some compliance, or maybe they had some data sovereignty issues, or maybe it was just an expense. Maybe the OpEx model was too much more expensive than their CapEx model, so they actually had to come back out. Well, again, our data fabric allows you to turn that knob in the middle as you see fit. Use the resources that make the best sense for you. Have your data where you need it, when you need it. And also, don't be afraid that you're locked in with a decision. You can change that knob whenever you want. Now, looking at what we have to offer for our products and services, on the bottom, you can see all of our products. Now, these are all available to you in a private cloud or in your traditional data center. It's also what our service providers use. But if you want to take advantage of our products with the cloud, that would be the cloud in the left-hand corner. That's the NPS for cloud, NetApp Private Storage. That's where you have a NetApp storage system, more than likely in a co-location facility. As example, we partner with Equinix. And what happens there is that you get the best of both worlds. You have your storage systems, which you're used to, but also connected to the cloud of your choice. And you can also have that data on your storage systems connect to multiple clouds at the same time. This way you can move to a different cloud provider without having to move your data. But where we're going to focus on today is really Cloud ONTAP, which is over in the right-hand corner, the cloud storage. So we're going to be talking about Cloud ONTAP in AWS and how that's going to help meet your needs for your SQL applications. So talking about Cloud Manager and Cloud ONTAP quickly. This is a representation of Cloud ONTAP, in AWS. This is where, if you're familiar with AWS, we're actually using an Amazon Machine image, an EC2 instance, Elastic Cloud Compute, their virtual machine, and we've installed our #1 storage operating system on top of that. So it's the same exact storage operating system that works on the physical systems that we sell. And this is something that's actually very important because this allows you to go ahead and take advantage of our enterprise class data management in the public cloud. So that way, the EBS storage that we receive underneath the covers, the Elastic Block storage from Amazon, we can use it in a much more efficient manner. We have our thin provisioning and our storage efficiencies. We have deduplication. We can actually allow you to use, effectively use the storage better than you could natively in the cloud. Also with flex clones, which I'll show you with one of the demonstrations, you can get an exact duplicate of your data for your database or your application without consuming any additional capacity. And I'll show you those efficiencies a little bit later. But most importantly, too, is that you have multi-protocol offered from the Cloud ONTAP system. So not only do you get the block, but you also get the file services within FS and SIFs. And since it's ONTAP, we have our SnapMirror and our SnapVault replication technologies, so you can easily replicate data into the cloud, and more importantly, back out. And again, because of those storage efficiencies, it's a much smaller amount of storage that you'd actually be transmitting out if you choose to do so. And like with all of our products, we have different management products, management portfolio on-command suite, where we have System Manager, Unified Manager, On-Command Insight, Workflow Automation, but we also have Cloud Manager. And Cloud Manager is what we use to manage our cloud resources. It's also what we use to deploy Cloud ONTAP. I'll show you in just a minute where you can actually use Cloud Manager to deploy a system quickly and easily. I'm not going to focus too much on that because I want to try and get more into the meat of the SQL applications on top of Cloud ONTAP, but I'll show you how easy that is. And the thing that's nice here is, again, minutes. You can deploy a new Cloud ONTAP system roughly, if you're used to the Cloud Manager, I'd say you can actually launch a new system in under a minute. And it takes roughly 20 minutes for Cloud Manager to deploy the AWS resources and then configure ONTAP. But once it's done, it's a fully configured system that's ready to serve storage out to your Amazon compute instances or act as a destination for a SnapMirror replication from one of your physical systems. And then it's a simple click and drag process, and I'll show you that too. So talking about SQL databases on Cloud ONTAP. Now, why would you do this? Where's the benefit for you to try and use Cloud ONTAP for SQL rather than native EBS or RDS? Well, basically, again, it comes down to our storage efficiencies. We can be much more cost efficient and cost effective for you. Because of our thin provisioning and deduplication and flex clones, you can effectively consume a lot less storage than you would natively in the public cloud. You can also avoid any over-provisioning because if you think of how much you're going to grow, you may need to accommodate that right up front. So you might have to allocate a lot more storage than you'd like to in order to handle the expected database growth. Well, with our storage efficiencies, we can go ahead and allow you to grow as you go. So by using volume resize, auto grow options, and you can ensure that you're never going to get to a problem where you're running into an I/O error because of running out of capacity. The other portions mentioned, SnapMirror or SnapVault, again, replicate from your physical resources up to Cloud ONTAP or back from Cloud ONTAP down to your physical resources. And the other thing I think is really not highlighted enough is the data protection pieces. Because of the application integration that we can achieve with Snap Manager for SQL and also SnapCenter, we can get application and transactionally consistent snapshot or recovery points for your databases and your application. That's not something you can natively cloud. There's typically restoring from a snapshot and then rolling forward logs. Well, with Snap Manager suite, that's a thing of the past because of the full-on integration that we have. So I mentioned Snap Manager for SQL. So this is a little bit of a representation there. It's an application that we use. It's something that we've had for quite a while. So we have Snap Managers and SnapDrive. Those integrate with not only the operating system on your host, but also through the application and the database down through to the storage. So we can actually help you with the primary storage, but we can also replicate and reference to a secondary site. So it depends upon how you want to do things. You can actually use that for a DR capacity as well. And then SnapCenter. So SnapCenter here, this is, I want to say, an evolution of our Snap Manager product. So where Snap Managers are deployed for each of the individual hosts, SnapCenter can act as a centralized area, a consolidation of your databases and your backup schedules. So you can identify several backup policies and role-based access control to a centralized SnapCenter server, and then be able to see many different storage systems, many different hosts, many different databases, and manage them all in one centralized repository. And I'm going to probably focus more on the demonstrations for SnapCenter. But with that, let's go and get started. Let's switch over. First thing I'm going to do, though, I'm going to come over into a browser just to show you a little bit of how you get at Cloud ONTAP and Cloud Manager. So what I have here is just the AWS Marketplace. Now, when you come into the AWS Marketplace, I would just search for Cloud ONTAP, and then you get a list of a few different items. So you get Cloud ONTAP for AWS, you get Cloud Manager for AWS, well, Cloud Manager, and then you'd end up subscribing to both. Unlike other AMIs in Amazon, you wouldn't launch Cloud ONTAP directly from the Marketplace, but you'd end up deploying Cloud Manager to go ahead and launch and deploy Cloud ONTAP. I also want to crack one of these open and scroll down a little bit. So later on, if you're interested in finding out more information or for finding more resources, these are great links for you for finding documentation or looking at some instructional videos on how to do things with Cloud ONTAP, and also see a little bit more about the SQL integration that we're going to be showing you in just a second. But coming over to my, that's my EC2 console. Coming over to my Cloud Manager system, this is something I've already have stood up. You know, creating a new working environment, creating a new Cloud ONTAP system is very easy. I can go through that in just a second. But I have two different systems here, two different Cloud ONTAP systems. But I also have a physical system. This is my NetApp private storage system where I've replicated my logs, my LUNs from my physical system where I've got SQL 2014 installed, and I've replicated that up to my Cloud ONTAP systems. If I want to go and create a new Cloud ONTAP system, I just need to go through the wizard. I'm just going to go through this very quickly because, for sake of time. And I really didn't prepare on doing this, so I can pick a kind of security. I'll say none for now. I understand information in my environment, so I'll select my virtual private cloud. I'll leave these as the defaults because this is where my Cloud Manager system is installed. I'll just pick a standard version, that's fine. This is support. You know, right now I'm going to skip that because I can. Provide some information about Cloud ONTAP, so password. And I'm going to leave the defaults. And then I can choose to create a volume or not. Now in this case, since I'm just trying to do this quickly, I'm just going to skip that. Here's my review page, what the system I'm trying to install, you know, the information about the networking, a couple of confirmations. If I want support, all Cloud ONTAP systems come with support, but I know I need to register if I want to get support. And I understand that Cloud Manager is going to deploy resources in AWS. So I accept that. I click on Go. And that's it. That's all it takes to launch a new system. So there's no procurement, there's no finance, there's no shipping, there's no rack, stack, power, ping, pipe, configure. You know, in roughly 20, 25 minutes, this is a new system that's going to be up and running. Now, I've already done that with a couple of different systems. And what I've done is I've replicated, I'll pick SQL 2. I've replicated a couple of things here. I have a SQL data. I also have some clones there that I've done. We'll do some more clones in a second. I also have a SQL logs. So those are things that I replicated from my physical system. Replicating from my physical system to another Cloud ONTAP system, I'll go to SQL 1 here, is a simple click and drag process. And here, I can go ahead and select the volume that I'd like to replicate from my physical system. I'm going to search for the storage virtual machine I want. And let's just say, so SQL logs. So this is my testerized SQL log volume that contains my LUN. Confirm, let's see, continue. What I want it called for the demo, I'll leave the defaults here. I have some advanced options, so if I want to pick a different aggregate on my destination system, I can. I only have one. Or if I want to use some throttling for the snap mirror transfer, I can do that too. But I just need to continue. Pick a mirror or a snap vault. I'll just pick a mirror, and my schedule, I only want to do this one time. I'll do that. And just a review. Again, I'm going to create a volume on Cloud Manager, so let me go and click on that. Click on Go. And that's all there is to it. The replication is started. And if I want to see anything about the replications, I can come up here to replication status. but I know that that'll actually go start the replication in just a minute, and things will be going. So actually here it is. This is my SQL logs, and it'll take care of initializing the SnapMare transfer and doing all the tasks underneath the covers. Now, coming back to look at my working environments, this is data. So this is the data that I'm moving. I'm moving my logs and my logs and my data LUN. And what I don't show you here is the storage, the compute. I've stood up a SQL. I've stood up a Windows 2012 server and with SQL 2014 on top of it, and then I made these LUNs visible to that system, and then I just simply attached that to my SQL 2014 server. So going over to my SQL server, so this is my SQL 2014 system. I'm on Windows 2012 R2. What I'm showing you here is the representation of those LUNs within System Manager. So this is the same Cloud SQL 1 system we just replicated the other LUN to. I've got a temporary LUN here. I've got my SnapInfo LUN for Snap Manager, my data LUN, my log LUN. And just to show you what that looks like a little bit in SnapDrive and Snap Manager, if I look at SnapDrive, SnapDrive has the interaction with my operating system, so it can help understand what storage is it receiving from NetApp. So if I look at my disks, I can see that I have my data LUN, I have my log LUN, and I have my Snap information. Okay, perfect. That's great. Get rid of that. Now, if I go and look at my SQL Server, I can look at the database that I have attached, and it's my AdventureWorks database. So that's good. If I pull up Snap Manager for SQL, I can see I can do several different things here. So I'll expand this a little bit. So my server is WinSQL 01. I can do some backups, and I can also do some restores. So this is where I can actually identify which database to back up. I only have the one here, so I can select this one and either go through the wizards, or actually maybe go through a PowerShell window. So because we have PowerShell interaction, and then use the command line here. I like PowerShell just because it helps me automate things. Now, I've already taken a few backups. If I go look at my restore, again, looking at my AdventureWorks database, I can look to see what kind of backups I have. All right, come on. I do have a video backup, but I'd rather not go to it. So here's some of the local backups, and this is something I took earlier today. So with the backup, I want to show you how easy it is to do actually a restore. So if we come back over to my SQL server, whoops, get out of that. I'll go and take this offline. It's offline. Okay, good. And I'm going to go delete the data for this database, actually. And NetApp storage, this is where I have it mounted. That's my data LUN and AdventureWorks. So I'm going to go delete. And it's gone. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it's gone. So I don't have any data. I can't bring this back online. But with Snap Manager, I can go through the restore wizard and go through the different steps. Now, that's easy. I also do want to just show you, again, the PowerShell window version. So here's my PowerShell window. I actually have some of the commands I use, just simple here. So this is the command I want to copy. So again, it's pretty simple. Restore my backup. I've identified my server. It's WinSQL 01. I wanted to restore my database AdventureWorks 0 and restore from the last backup. And I'll just kick that off. Now, the thing that's nice here is backups. Explaining those a little bit is that when we do a backup via Snap Manager or from SnapCenter, it will go through and do several different things. It will restore the last NetApp snapshot for the log and the data LUNs in those volumes. But what other things are happening is for SQL, backup will go through and ensure that all of those transactions are flushed to disk. It will also ensure that the database is put into effectively a hot backup mode, so we ensure there's transactional consistency. Once the backup is done, the database is taken back out of hot backup mode and then made online for continued processing. So while I was talking, the restore of that backup has completed, so that's good. If I come over and look at my LUN again, come on. So I look at NetApp storage, my data LUN, my AdventureWorks database is back. If I come back and look at the Snap Manager, actually let's go and refresh, or look at SQL Server, I see that my AdventureWorks database is back online. Perfect, that's exactly what we wanted. Now, I'm going to show you a couple other things, but I'm going to switch over to SnapCenter. Go over to SnapCenter. So here, SnapCenter, let me log in. What am I logging in as? User. And here, SnapCenter, I like it a lot. I only have one database here, or one host. I should be adding more for future demos, but I myself is only getting used to this. But I stood this up because it's more relevant. It's something where it's a consolidation of many different databases within one area. There is role-based access here, so you can definitely identify who has access to which resource. But here I've added in a look at my. So here's my OneSQL01 system. I also have the other storage system here, so I'm going to go and pick that. I've got my Cloud SQL 2 system, and I've got my OneSQL1. And this I just wanted to show you is the iSCSI connector between my Windows host and then my storage system. So that's how they can communicate. And if I look at my inventory, I have here, I see I've got a couple of different things. I've got my primary database. I actually have two clones. So again, those rapid clones, that storage efficiency, and ensuring that I can play around with these clones without impacting my primary database. I can see also that they're identified as clones here. But let's say I wanted to play around and do something more. Let's do another one because I wanted to try and do a different test. So if I select my AdventureWorks database, I'm just going to give a clone backup. And from here, I'll just go through the wizard. This is the backup that I took yesterday. Now, clone server, from the dropdown, if you have multiple, they'd show up here. I only have the one. It knows the instance. And I'll provide a suffix that I want to use. So I'll do clone 3, or maybe not, clone 3. So, and I can also choose a specific mount point if I want, or I'm just going to let it auto-assign. And the database, again, AdventureWorks. I'll choose all logs, that's good. And if I have any pre or post scripts I want to run against my data, I can. I don't have any for the purposes of this demo. And who do I want to notify? Do I want to send an auto support to NetApp for this? Do I want to make sure that this is logged on the storage system? Actually, I do. And do I want to send an email? So in this case, I could, but I'm just going to skip that for now. And then just to verify, what's going on. Let me go ahead and finish this, and that'll kick things off. So we have our notice. The clone from backup has started. I can go look at the monitor for this job, and here's the entry. I can see that it's running. I can look at the status of what's going on by expanding that. And I can see that it's doing a lot of different things. It's already cloning the resources, preparing the file system, the application clones, and that's it. That's all it takes to clone this database. This database is roughly a 200 gig database, and then around 100 gig of logs. So that's how quick it was to go ahead and have an exact duplicate copy. If I come back over to my data sets here, my inventory, I should see, I've got my third clone. Perfect. Now, what does that look like within my SQL server? Okay, log back in, go to my databases, and then I see I have my AdventureWorks, clone 1, clone 2, and clone 3. Now, if I want to go play around, and I will quickly, I'll just look at the tables. Let's just say I'm making some changes. I want to try and get rid of, I'm doing a little malicious. I'm going to go through and delete my pay history. And that's gone. So I'm also going to go and delete my department history. Okay, those are gone. Okay, these are self-contained. I'm actually making changes to this clone. It's not impacting my primary copy. So if I come look at my AdventureWorks database, come over to tables, I can see that I still have my payment history and also my department history. So the other thing too that you can do with SnapCenter and with also SnapManager, I could have actually made this clone available to a different SQL server, a different host. I don't have none of them configured right now, but that's also something very possible. Now, I've created these clones. What this looks like actually on the storage system, if I go back. So that was on my Cloud SQL 2 system. Now, what I have here, I've got several different several different data volumes. This is my gold data. Those are my 300 gig volumes. And I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The names here are going to be a little long, but this is really the date and timestamp for when I took the clone. I also have several different log ones, so log volumes. So here's the 200 gig volumes. I want 1, 2, 3, 4. So good. This is all the allocations here are being referenced as roughly 2.5 terabytes worth of data, by Cloud ONTAP. This is what it looks like that I'm consuming. But if I go look under the covers and look at what my data aggregate configuration is, I can look to see that I only really have a 1 terabyte EBS volume supporting all of this. So again, that's our storage efficiencies in action. We're being able to go ahead and leverage this in a lot better fashion than I would have to do with straight up EBS. The thing that's nice about this is that reduces the charges that I normally have to do with an EBS. So if I wanted to do this in straight EBS, I'd have roughly 2.5 terabytes in order to do it. And again, this makes better sense as we end up leveraging it more. So with that, let's go back over. And I also want to try and talk to you about where is this applicable? Who's using this? Well, we work with a customer out of the UK, Cordant Group, and they had a challenge where they had a lot of acquisitions, so they had a lot of consolidation to do, as well as trying to go to the cloud. And they're trying to move their SQL database applications up into RDS. And they're having some challenges with it. It was working okay, but they're having some server issues. They're using an older server, architecture. They're also facing changes in procedures, and they're having challenges with their work staff to have who's working on premises, who's working in the cloud. It's just not the same. What do we, they're having lots of heartache. Well, enter Cloud ONTAP. Now, Cordant Group is a NetApp shop. They're using SnapManager for SQL. So, hey, this made perfect sense. Let's launch Cloud ONTAP. Let's go ahead and migrate our data via SnapMirror. Let's go ahead and use SnapManager and see how it works. And it worked flawlessly, because it's the same operating system. So that way they were able to go ahead and reduce headache, reduce the total cost of ownership, being able to accommodate both their consolidation as well as their migration to the cloud, and use the same people to manage both their on-premises and their cloud-based resources. So they're extremely happy with how well things worked. A little bit about their architecture. When they've replicated up into Amazon and into AWS, they're actually in the Eastern European, Western European region, so EU West. And within that region, for high availability, they have a Cloud ONTAP system in one availability zone and one in another availability zone connected to their hosts. And then also for DR purposes, they replicate over to EU Central. So they're very happy with how easy it is to manage not only their data, but their SQL applications in the cloud. You may have seen it when I was talking about through the marketplace earlier. Cloud ONTAP has a 30-day free trial, so you would not receive any NetApp charges for that if you want to go register and subscribe to Cloud ONTAP. I do need to point out that you will be launching AWS resources, so AWS resource charges still do apply. But once you subscribe, you'll have 30 days with no NetApp charges. And with that, we can start to go into some of the Q&A. I haven't really seen any questions pop up because I was paying more attention to the presentation. One thing I do want to note is that site in the middle. If you go to cloud.netapp.com, you can definitely find out more information about Cloud ONTAP, as well as NetApp Private Storage and AltaVault. But Gali, can you tell me if any questions came in?
Yes, absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much. Great presentation. Let me dive into these questions so we can keep our time. Question 1, let me make sure I'm reading this correctly. You've shown how to move my SQL data to the cloud. What about moving my SQL servers to the cloud? Does Cloud Manager help move my servers?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. The short answer is no. That's not something that Cloud Manager can do. Cloud Manager is really for helping manage your hybrid cloud data. So for Cloud ONTAP or your physical ONTAP systems, either NetApp Private Storage or on-premises, to move your database data to the cloud. You know, in my example, I actually had to deploy my own Windows 2012 system, and I also deployed the system that had SQL 2014 on it. And once that was there, it was easy for me to use the SnapManager or SnapCenter products to go ahead and pull the database data over that way. As far as for options, the only thing that comes to mind right now, and this is not an endorsement, but I know they do a really good job, is Cloud Endure. They help with migrating a lot of things from your virtual hypervisors into Amazon. The other things that I have done myself is that I've exported some VMware OVAs and imported those myself, but those are, I'd say, more brute force kind of options. But short answer, no, that's not something, we don't move the compute for you. Was there another question?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to move to the next question. You showed how I can replicate my SQL data into the cloud. How would I get my data back out of the cloud?
So how do you get your data back out of the cloud? So I could switch over to the other I could switch over to the Cloud Manager system, but the short answer is, you know that click and drag process I showed for migrating from my NPS system up to the cloud? It's the same process. You simply do a click and drag from your Cloud ONTAP system down to your physical resource, be it NetApp Private Storage, be it on premises. And then you identify the volumes you want to move. Now that's with Cloud Manager. You don't have to use Cloud Manager for that. We make it an easy process. If you're familiar with how to manage NetApp storage, you could use System Manager, you can use your own script, you can use command line, you can use workflow automation. Those are all very viable, and you simply use either SnapManager or SnapVault to move your data out of the cloud.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next question. Why is NetApp relevant? Why is NetApp relevant in the public cloud?
So that's also a really good question. I know that when I've talked to people about NetApp and AWS, a lot of people ask why you're a storage company. Well, yes, we do have storage, but more than that, we're an enterprise class data management company. That's where we focus. That's where we thrive. We've been doing it for 20 years. Amazon's got a lot of great stuff. One thing that they're still, I want to say, evolving is their data management capabilities. We bring storage efficiencies that they don't. We have application integration through the data stack and through the storage layer where they don't. We can actually help bring much more efficiencies to use and consume less public cloud storage than you would natively. So there's a lot of things that we can do to help you understand your data. Because at the end of the day, the data is really the most important thing. You lose your compute, not good, stand it up, and then reattach your data. You lose your data, you might be losing business, losing customers, or losing your job. So okay, I guess to follow it up, NetApp prevents that. So at least helps make it less likely that that'll happen. Didn't want to end on a down note.
I'm going to go. Here's an interesting one. Is there a plan to do this with Azure? Will we have Azure support?
So, great question. That kind of leads into some of our futures. The short answer is yes. We are actually working on Azure right now, Cloud ONTAP for Azure, and that's something that's going to be available in the summer timeframe. I can't really give a specific date, but yes, we will have Cloud ONTAP like you have today in AWS. That will be available in Azure as well.
Okay, great. Another question. I think that'll be our last one, so we don't go beyond the 40 minutes. We want to be sensitive to everybody's time. Can we use this solution to go from on-prem to AWS, or do we need NetApp storage or Equinix?
So can we use this solution can you repeat that for me, please?
Can we use this solution to go from on-prem to AWS, or do we need NetApp storage on Equinix?
So that's actually almost the a couple of different responses.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's extremely similar. So what the question kind of implies is, can I replicate from on-premises up to NetApp private storage, or can I replicate from on-premises up to Cloud ONTAP? Well, I actually showed you slightly different. I showed you replicating from NetApp private storage to Cloud ONTAP, but the process is effectively the same. Yes, you can so long as you're actually you have your ONTAP systems. Yeah, you can replicate from on-prem to NPS. You can replicate your data from on-prem up into Cloud ONTAP. You can replicate from Cloud ONTAP back down, NetApp private storage back down, depending upon where you need your data. And again, that's kind of the basis and our vision for the data fabric. Get your data to the resources that make the best sense for you. For some customers' use cases, it's going into the cloud. One specific use case I can think of, well, the customer is doing their primary processing in the cloud. They didn't have a lot of storage, but the data egress and the mobility, or being able to replicate out of the cloud, was very, very hard until Cloud ONTAP came into play. For them, they then again went and attached the NNF. It was an NFS mount. They went ahead and pushed their data there, and then that way they were able to replicate it back down to their on-prem system so they can run their business analytics. So yeah, you can definitely replicate up to NPS or to cloud. So Gali, I'm not sure if you're on mute. Was there any other questions we wanted to try and field, or are we going to wrap up?
Hello?
I can hear you now.
Hi. Okay, I was disconnected. Sorry about that. There's one more question I think we should answer. It's about licensing. We can maybe on a very high level explain the two options.
So the licensing. So
the question is, we want to move our on-prem databases to AWS. What do we need to buy in terms of licensing? So maybe we can touch on the two options.
So yeah, there's a couple of options there. So if you're going to a Cloud ONTAP system, Cloud ONTAP system includes almost all feature licenses. So for doing the replication of data, you don't need to buy any additional licenses. You just need to deploy your Cloud ONTAP system. Cloud ONTAP will end up having the licenses for Snap Manager and Snap Vault. It'll have the licenses for NFS, SIFS, and iSCSI. It'll have for Snap Restore, all the different things you need in order to go ahead and replicate the data to the cloud. Now, the one thing that's actually not deployed automatically on the Cloud ONTAP system is the Snap Manager licenses. So for working with your database data and doing the integration like I showed in the demos, you would need to deploy a Snap Manager license for your hosts to be able to connect to your Cloud ONTAP system. And that's something that you can work with your NetApp rep in order to procure. And actually, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there's also two kinds of Cloud ONTAP licensing models. One is pay-as-you-go, where you just subscribe via the marketplace, and then launch the pay-as-you-go model from Cloud Manager. The other option is if you know that you're going to use it for a while and you want to take advantage of more of a cost savings because you're going to be using it for quite a bit, you can purchase a bring your own license for Cloud ONTAP. That's where you would pay work with your rep, procure a license for Cloud ONTAP, and then when you launch Cloud ONTAP, you deploy the bring your own license model, apply your license key, and then at that point, you have no NetApp charges because you've already paid for the license, and then you're just subject to the AWS resource charges.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kevin. We're just about out of time, so we're going to end now, and we want to thank everybody for dialing in and listening in. And everybody who asked a question and we didn't get a chance to answer, you will be getting an email very shortly with an answer to your question. And thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on our other webinars in the near future. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.